Hey, welcome to Bite Size Pickleball, where we serve up short and tasty pickleball treats for all. I'm your host, Rick Sipes, and this is our very first show. Talk about your pressure to perform, kind of like these guys. Well, they at least pulled it off, or we wouldn't have this amazing sport we all love so much. What happens in Vegas definitely did not stay in Vegas, which gets me wondering, how did they consummate the deal? Like, did one get their peanut butter stuck in the other's chocolate? Or was it the other way around? Yup, something should definitely stay in Vegas. But let's be honest, they obviously had a ball. And speaking of balls, let's head out to the court now and hit some with professional pickleball player Wes Burrows in a segment I will let the house band introduce for you.
Do you want to be good? Do you want to be great? Practice like a pro, up your due parade.
Do you have a specific routine that you follow? And what does that consist of?
I usually have about 8 to 10 drills, and I'll mix those around depending on what I want to work on in that particular day. But there's some core staples that pretty much all the pros typically use. How
important is drilling to the improvement in someone's game? And what is your message to rec players on that?
It really just comes down to reps and quality reps. And I've noticed that even if you go into a rec game and you say, I want to work on a specific shot,
it all goes out the window when something happens, right?
Absolutely, that happens too, where it's like you forget about it, and but even if you're trying to put yourself in position to hit that shot, it can be really challenging. Like it was recently, I was thinking like, I want to work on taking, like getting in a backhand, cross court combination, which you think happens a lot, right? And then I want to hit, a specific flick down the line, and you might only get 2 or 3 chances if you play out an entire game. So if you're drilling, you can basically, finagle your way to have that scenario happen. You get so many more reps on whatever you're trying to work on. Zero, ready? Here we go. 1, 2, 3.
Missed it.
It's fine. Play it. 4, 5. Don't let me take one out of here. 8. What a shot! I'm gonna feed a dead dink.
What's a dead dink?
Dead dink is kind of just like a high, softer dink. So those are attackable shots. In professional pickleball, we don't want to hit a lot of dead dinks. Okay. Because they're going to attack them. For today's purposes, I'm going to feed you 5 forehands. You speed up on the very first forehand, so I'm going to feed you a forehand, and you're gonna be working on your combo. So speeding up to different spots at me. So I know you're speeding up
every time. Every
time. So I'm going to feed the ball, and you're going to speed up, and we're going to play out the point. 0-0. That was a great speed up though on the first one. Fantastic. Notice like even just on the forehand side, my paddle's down. It's relatively closed. Okay. It's not open. It's closed. And then I'm just going to accelerate this edge of the paddle up and around the outside of the ball.
Okay.
See how when you just did it, you did this? You didn't do that. Yeah. So up the back of the ball. This is the motion. Same concept. Paddle tip is down behind the outside of the ball, and then I'm accelerating this part of the paddle up the back of the ball and to there. Perfect. You did a nice little reset there from back there. That was great. 3-2. Let's try it one more. Great. All right, now you got to feed me some backhands.
Oh, man.
Oh, what happened? Came right at you. That would have been amazing. So that's dead dink speed up drill.
We did a couple of other games that I really enjoyed. One, the player just inside the baseline has to tap the ball to themselves and then drop it over the net. This drill was really good for paddle control.
And if I want to make it harder on myself, I can hit them a little higher to you, give you a higher shot.
I also really like to drill where the baseline player has to hit it over the net 20 times in a row, either dropping it or driving it. Each time you get it over the net is a point. But, and here's the thing, when you hit the net, subtract 5 points from your score. So there you have it. Now it's your turn to get out and practice. Up your duper rate. By the way, Wes's duper rate is 6.2. And make sure not to miss his TV show, The Wager, on a streamer near you. I am going to wager that these next ladies are going to get a few questions wrong and a few questions right. In a little pickleball trivia segment we like to call The Answer Show. How many holes in a ball?
12. 24. 13.
32.
What does APP stand for?
American Pickleball
Ball.
Professionals?
How about PPA?
Professional Pickleball Association?
How about MLP?
Major League Pickleball. Yes!
What's bigger, pickleball court or a badminton court?
Pickleball.
Pickleball? The same.
What's the most important shot in pickleball?
Third shot drop.
Why is it called a kitchen?
That's a good question. I don't know. the
Us
answer.
ladies don't like to get in
We
there.
don't want to be in the kitchen.
Is it legal to lob someone in the
Hell
sun?
yeah.
Do it all day
Yes,
long.
and it's
all
effective.
day long. It's a great shot. Yeah. all
What
day.
year was pickleball invented and
1950s.
Oh, I thought it was like 71 in
I'm
Seattle.
going 1956, Seattle.
That island, Bainbridge Island.
Bainbridge.
Well done on at least the location part. I'll let the house band fill in a few more details for you.
1965, pickleball came alive. Bainbridge, Washington, that's where it was at. There were 3 fathers, they did sat. The kids were bored looking for something to do, so they invented a game with a silly name too. Bushalaka.
We'll get to where that silly name came from with my next guest, who was actually the first ever men's world's doubles champion. He also lives at the house with the original court on it. Let's give a warm and toasty welcome for Scott Stover. Welcome, Scott. Thanks for joining us from Bainbridge Island, Washington. Tell me how it all began.
Well, I started playing in the late 60s. I came over to my wife's, which was my girlfriend at the time, to their family cabin, and they had pickleball. We eventually, in 1984, purchased the original court and house. We had been, it's just about 8 doors down the beach from where the game was invented, was where I was playing at that time.
And those inventors were?
It was Barney McCallum, one of the founders, along with Bill Bell and Joel Pritchard. They had played for a few years, but they'd gone through trying to figure out the rules, trying to figure out what was best to play, and that was the game as it was back in the late 60s.
What was the year it started?
The game was invented in 1965, but it was really not invented and started playing at the pace it is today. It was a very social game at the time, which is fortunately the way it still is today.
Talk to us more about who Barney McCallum was.
Barney was my wife's cousin. He was one of 11 cousins down the family compound, which is about 1,000 feet down the beach from here. He was a very successful businessman. He had an envelope company in Seattle. His personality was such that everyone wanted to do business with Barney.
Describe that classic box he came up with.
In 1977, Barney put a pickleball kit together that he was selling, which included 2 paddles, balls, and a net. And we can show you that in a minute, but it was a great deal. He got all the cousins together on a Saturday afternoon on a lake spot down outside of Seattle. And he got all the cousins, like 20 cousins, for free labor. And he fed us sandwiches, and he took pictures, and it turned into a really nice box.
Tell us a little bit more about Bill and Joel and how they fit in with the trio.
Joel was a congressman. He went off to be a politician after summer ended. Bill Bell went back to the Far East, where he was working for the CIA out of Indonesia in the days of Vietnam. And Barney was left here as a businessman, kind of holding this game, this new invention that they had.
I'd like to hear a little bit more about that first tournament. long before Ben Johns got his hands on every trophy imaginable.
There was the world's first pickleball championship that was held down in South Seattle at a new club down there that was developed by a guy who was also installing pickleball courts around the Northwest. So he had the first World's Championships at his gymnasium down in South Center. And so my partner and I, Rob Cahill, who were fraternity brothers, we went and we played in the first World's Championship pickleball tournament, and we won it. And then the following year, Rob and I won it again.
And who was your primary competition?
We were playing in that second tournament were firefighters in Seattle. They were using it as an exercise for themselves at their firehouse when they had downtime.
Tell us about that restaurant that featured pickleball on the menu.
Gosh, 30, 40 years later, Jennifer Lucor, who is one of the pickleball professionals, she was on her way back to California from New England and got a call from Smash Park, a new restaurant chain in Des Moines, Iowa, and they were having pickleball as their main entree. So she shows up and she looks, and all the waiters and waitresses have this picture, which is of me from Barney's Box in 1977. And here I am flying through the air at their bar.
Scott, I'd love it if you could set the record straight and tell us how pickleball got its name.
Since I'm being asked, I'll give you my opinion, which is that it's named after the dog. The dog, although was not alive in 1965, the game wasn't named in 1965. It was a couple years later until the game was named.
And all three founders were in on it?
Joel and Bill and Barney were agreed that that was the source of the name. And if you look in Jennifer Lucor's book called The History of Pickleball, on pages 61, 62 in there someplace, it gives various descriptions from various people. Dick Brown being one of them, who was almost called the fourth inventor of pickleball, but he was a close friend of the Pritchards, and he remembers sitting in their living room and saying, let's name it after the dog. And so that's what they did. It was named after the dog Pickles.
Scott, thanks so much for coming on the show. I could not have kicked off the first episode without you. What a privilege. You are genuinely the OG of the sport.
And I'm sure that Barney and Joel and Bill would all find that they really like the idea that so many people are getting out and playing.
Heck yeah, we're getting out and playing. And sometimes we're not just playing pickleball. We're playing dress up pickle. What? Roll film. Just a little shout out to those of you who speak a Clausen. In other words, the Academy of Pickle Voters. When you're voting for your Pickle of the Year, okay, my next guest has toured all over the world. He's rocked out on more than a few yachts. Whenever I call him friend, he needs no introduction. But I'm going to let the house band give him one anyway.
Highway to the pickleball zone. I take you right into the pickleball zone.
Kenny, how you doing, my man? Thanks for coming on the show.
I'm doing good.
So tell the audience how you discovered pickleball.
I was shown pickleball when I was on a vacation in Hawaii, and one of my best friends took me to her friend's house, and they were all playing pickleball. So I just jumped in and started learning. It's a great game. It's a lot of fun.
Okay, this is it. Make no mistake this time. But tell us why rec players just won't dink around.
I think that they don't value or understand the power of the dink, and I think that when you first come in, there's something about hitting the ball hard that's very satisfying. You know, it's really the get off of it.
My mama told me you better dink around. Sorry, Kenny.
I think they don't trust it. I think they don't practice it enough to be able to trust it.
Practice? We're talking about practice?
Only ex-athletes get the idea of practice.
Come on. Do you practice before you go out on tour?
Oh, hell yes.
Kenny Loggins, you dink and drive.
Actually, we've been talking about that possibility, that you want to hit deep and then dink. So I've been telling my partners, deep and dink, because if we can keep you back, and then we're set, if we're on the line, we're set to drop it short and win the point.
Okay, final question. Is it true that non-dinkers just can't handle the pressure in the danger zone?
Yeah, that's what we now call it. The dinking area used to be called the kitchen. Now it's the danger zone.
Hey, Kenny, speaking of the danger zone, I got something for you.
What would that be?
Maybe your next backing band.
Highway to the pickleball zone. Take you right into the pickleball zone.
Hey, Kenny, hold up. Hold up, man. They got a question for you.
Hey, Kenny, can you introduce us to Maverick?
I'll see you at the bar.
They're only 8 years old, man. They can't get into a bar. Wow, did he go all footloose on us? Probably down to the bar on Pooh Corner. Sneaking in beside me here is our very first live studio guest. A warm welcome for Bite Size Pickleball correspondent, Courtney Rainwater. Courtney! Courtney Rainwater, you have a lot of Rain Bucket fans.
Taylor Swift, eat your heart out.
Right? So what is it about pickleball you want to talk about?
What don't I want to talk about with pickleball?
Right?
I mean, honestly, I feel like I'm being left behind.
Because
pickleball, duh.
Okay.
Because I don't even play pickleball, okay? There, I said it.
How did you get this position again?
I responded to your ad on Craigslist.
But you said you played.
So I lied on my resume like you've never done that before. I have. People do it. People lie on their resume. They at least embellish. People embellish.
Okay, I'm not people. What's my nickname?
Pickle Rick. I have this group of friends, okay? And every Wednesday, we'd go out for drinks after work together. We don't do that any longer. Can you guess why?
Because they're out playing pickleball and you're not?
Yes. So as mentioned, I'm feeling a little left behind. And I figured if I got a pickleball gig, maybe they'd pay attention to me or like even be impressed with my know-how.
You don't have any know-how.
Not yet, but I'm working on it.
And how are you doing that?
First of all, what's up with the name? Pickleball.
I remind you, your last name is Rainwater.
Yeah, at least we know what my ancestors did.
They collected rainwater?
Exactly. Someone had to. Imagine in a world where guys
come up with dumb names for sports. They've got one guy holding a paddle, one other guy holding a wiffle ball. They're thinking to themselves, this is a serious sport. What should we call it? And then the other guy's dog comes running through and they're like, yup, pickles. Pickleball. That'll strike fear in the heart of our opponents. Yeah. But it's really like, no.
Courtney Rainwater, everyone, and her Bucketeers. It's okay, that's the show. I hope you enjoyed it. And now, the house band will take us out. Are you ready, Courtney?
Ready.
You got the Ernie, you got the Bert. The show is over, it's got to hurt. But don't you worry, don't you cry. In Bite Size Pickleball you can rely.
Bite Size.